On today's Better Call Sexton, we got a full docket. Engagement ring chaos. Does size really matter? Is it a seductive psychiatrist or a crazy TikTok lady? And should we expect prime Halle Berry, like I'm talking Catwoman Halle Berry, to also cook and clean? Plus, and am I the asshole not to be missed? All today, Better Call Sexton.
All right, so Jim, we have our first story here today. This is a big one that everyone's talking about, the conservative influencer catfight. August 4th, Sarah Stock posts a celebratory engagement ring photo with the caption, "I won." It's a very cute photo. I sent it to you there, very cute.
Okay.
So, but not everyone was cool with it.
Very cute photo.
August 5th, Emily Wilson, Emily Saves America, not to be confused with Rachel Wilson, the wife of our
Andrew
friend of the
Wilson,
show.
friend of the show.
Not to be
Rachel
confused.
Wilson, friend of the show.
Emily Wilson, another conservative influencer around the same age, comes in and says the ring size with a skull emoji.
Oh, geez.
Effectively making fun of it. Sarah Stock fires back at Wilson, "Where's your ring, Emily?" To then, out of nowhere, third player comes in, Morgan Ariel, saying Emily Wilson, you...
It's like the silliest Royal Rumble in history. Okay? It's great. Where does Pearl jump in? There we go.
Well, hold on.
All right. Should I spoiler it? Okay.
Third conservative influencer jumps in, Morgan Ariel blasts Wilson with, "You give it up for free, ho. Might want to sit this one out." Emily Wilson fires back, "Morgan, your baby daddy abandoned you. You're raising a bastard child."
Ah, wow, that escalated quickly. Yeah. Okay.
Pearl Davis, like you said,
Pearl
comes
jumped in. I was guessing when I said Pearl jumped in. Oh my God. All right.
Pearl Davis comes in with a folding chair. She says,
"Girls are fighting."
"Hottest right-wing e-girl taken off the market. Conservative women will always use their marriage and family to build their brand." That comes from Pearl. It ends with Morgan Ariel jumping in.
"None of that is true, Emily. But unlike you, I don't lie. So here are some facts. You got in the middle of a hotel lobby at a TPUSA event while everybody watched and there were families around. You brag about having sex with married MAGA dads and doing drugs. You have been completely ran through by both single and married men in the right wing. You call young virgins losers and encourage them to have premarital sex, and you're pro-abortion. You're a disgusting feminist whore with a Jezebel spirit who uses filters in all of her videos and lives in rebellion to God while grifting off the conservative movement and simultaneously trashes women who desire to live God-honoring lifestyles because their engagement rings didn't cost enough or their lifestyle isn't flashy enough. But yeah, I'm the one who needs money, you gold-digging hoe. So yes, I am better than you."
So... at the end of this, Matt Walsh comes in.
So far, Matt Walsh and Pearl are the only two people I even know in this story, like even vaguely, but okay.
So he comes in as kind of the voice of reason.
"Unless you're rich, you shouldn't be spending tens of thousands of dollars on a ring anyway. Putting yourself into 5-figure debt just to buy a piece of jewelry is not a flex. It makes you a moron." I have to tell you something, 100% agree with Matt Walsh's sentiment on that one, 100%.
So this is where we want to get your perspective, just on the general, theme here.
Yeah.
Wedding rings. Does size matter? What's going on?
Yeah. So engagement rings, does size matter? Yeah. I mean, look, I think it matters for people's perception. The question is should it matter? It's not does it matter, it's should it matter? And I know we live in reality and not sort of, the La La Land fantasy. But what I will tell you is, even to the extent that we live in a reality where people notice the size of an engagement ring, I think it is just one of those things we should be getting rid of as a concept. I think a small ring that has sentimental value, we found it when we were walking down the street in Paris together in this little jewelry shop, or I found it in an antique store, or this was my great grandmother's stone that I had put into a simple setting. These are all, in my opinion, a million times more romantic. And by the way, if this is purely about like a woman saying, "Hey, I want you to spend a lot of money on me," then buy a small ring or a replica ring or a CZ ring or a lab-made diamond ring and then buy her a Lamborghini or buy her a Ferrari. I mean, you're going to get more use out of that. Look, I represent a lot of what we would call ultra high net worth individuals. That's people with a net worth of over $100 million. Ultra high net worth is somewhere over $500 million. And the truth is, most of the things you see them wearing or the things you see hanging in their homes are replicas. They're not going to walk around. They're not going to have a Picasso hanging in their living room when they have company over. They're going to have an incredible replica of it. And then the actual painting that they own and bought at Sotheby's auction for, $200 million is in storage somewhere, very safe under extreme security. Same thing with rings. I have celebrity clients who have, a $20 million engagement ring because they can afford things like that. You could see the diamond from space, but they're wearing a CZ or they're wearing a lab-made diamond that looks exactly like it. And the actual ring is in a vault somewhere. They don't even necessarily take it out for the Met Gala. So, does size matter? Look, there was a time where someone, particularly it was the diamond industry, decided, hey, we've got to figure out a way to inspire people to buy what is essentially a rock. I mean, it's a rock. It's actually just a rock. And we've created artificial scarcity by suppressing the diamond market. And we've created something that, again, now can be perfectly replicated in labs for almost nothing. And you can't tell the difference anymore unless you have a fluoroscope and unless you have like highly skilled train. You really have no ability with the naked eye to tell what was a lab-made diamond and what wasn't. So really what this was about was a woman saying, hey, look, someone with a lot of money loves me. It doesn't say that anymore, folks. Here's another analogy. It used to be that driving a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW meant that you had a lot of money. Why? Because in the 1970s and 1980s, those were two cars you could not lease. They did not have leasing programs. They didn't even have loan programs where you could like buy it and finance it. You had to have the cash money to buy a Mercedes, which meant if you had a Mercedes, you had money because it meant you had at that time the equivalent of a couple of $100,000 laying around that you could just hand over to someone. You didn't need a payment plan. Well, jump ahead to 2025, folks. Anybody can. One of my secretaries drives a Mercedes, and I know I make a lot more money than her, and I drive a Jeep Wrangler. So the truth is, you can't tell what either of us makes based on that. And I know she has a lease, and she leases that vehicle, whereas I own my Jeep outright. I had the whole $30,000 I needed to buy it out. But the truth is, it doesn't tell you anything about someone's net worth. If people are just dumb enough to buy things on credit, or if they're wearing replicas of things, as Ocho Cinco famously talked about, a lot of people that you expect to have wealth will wear replicas knowing that people assume it's real because it's a person who has lots and lots of money. So look, the engagement ring thing, I will tell you, and this is my experience as a divorce lawyer for 25 years. I have had literally dozens of cases of ultra high net worth individuals and even just high net worth individuals who had significant diamond engagement rings, really big engagement rings. We're talking engagement rings worth over $500,000 and sometimes up to like $5 million in value. And they're in my office, folks. That means they're getting divorced. Okay. And they're getting divorced. I could make the argument that there is a correlation between the size and expense of the engagement ring and the likelihood of divorce. I can certainly make that argument about the size and expense of the wedding because I have divorced some people that have spent literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on weddings. And I will tell you in my observation, and again, this is correlation. I can't prove it. It's not double-blind research. There's no journal going to publish it anywhere. It's just me spending 25 years looking at trends. And I am telling you, the bigger and more expensive the wedding, the more likely these people are to divorce. And I would go so far as to say it's the same thing when it comes to engagement rings. What you are saying is that this needs to look big. This needs to look, and the more concerned you are about what everyone thinks of what's happening, the more likely that fraught times are ahead for you. But really stop for a second and think about what these, again, consumption is never going to fill the void. It's never going to fill the void, folks. And it's never going to be the thing that sustains a marriage. So starting your marriage with a gesture of conspicuous consumption that's in no way tethered to the depth of your love for this person and using that as the metric by which you determine success is probably a real shit strategy to start off a marriage with.
So we have the drama with Kendra Hilty.
Oh, okay.
The TLDR of her, the I fell in love with my psychiatrist woman. Maybe you've been following this?
I have been following this, I have to say. Yes, I have followed this with great dismay.
Kendra launches an unfolding TikTok series spanning 18 and 19 parts with the premise, I was in love with my psychiatrist and he kept me anyway. She claims that their 4-year therapeutic relationship featured blurred emotional and professional boundaries, alleged behaviors including warmth, alternating with clinical detachment, subtle comments about her appearance, and subtle intimate moments. However, many viewers noted very quickly into her series that the behavior she was describing just kind of sounded like a normal psychiatrist.
Sure, maybe he was uncomfortable because he didn't like me saying that I had a dream where we hooked up, but he could have said that. Yeah, like almost certainly. What connection did you all have in a past life? We were married. Why am I so against feedback? Because the feedback is not based in my reality. And this is why I think a lot of abusers don't speak up. I actually had someone, do you think he's had other victims or just you? So for a long time I thought it was just me, but the more I think about it, he's definitely. And then I told my psychiatrist that I woke up and thought, oh my God, it was just a dream, thank God. And it was like my psychiatrist turned into a little boy and he looked at me and he said, so you do like my boundaries? And I said, I love your boundaries. I hate your boundaries, but I love them more. Because once again, he used his boundaries as protection while exploiting me.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it would be hard to pick the most delusional moments in that. I'm glad they found those 6, but having watched more of that video series, which I think is definitely at some point going to end up on like a long form video on Netflix coming, 2027. Yeah, look, I think I can relate a lot to this psychiatrist's experience, not to this young woman's experience. And my heart does actually go out to her in the sense that I think she genuinely believes that what she's saying is true. I think that this is her authentic experience and what she feels. I just think it's misplaced. I think it's wrong from everything she has said taken as true. In the practice of law, when we have what's called a summary motion or a motion to dismiss, the court is required to give what's called every favorable inference, right? So what we do is we take what the other side is saying and we have to assume every single thing they said is true. And if even with every single thing they said being true, they still don't have a case, the case gets dismissed. So that's how we have to approach this. We have to approach this as, let's give credit and say that everything she said, he did and said, okay? I don't care what you felt. I don't care what you felt. What you feel is subjective. People shouldn't argue with your feelings. You could say, I felt scared. Can't say, well, you shouldn't have felt scared. You felt scared. Whether you should or shouldn't have felt scared, you can feel. Would a reasonable person in the same circumstances feel scared? That's the standard. That's the objective standard. That's how we do things in the law. So let's look at this. When someone says to you, when they are emotionally supportive of you, they're your psychiatrist. They have a duty to be emotionally supportive to you. When they listen to you, that's their obligation. That's their job. That's like saying the stripper was friendly to me. That's the stripper's job, is to be friendly to you. That's customer service. That's like saying, I can't believe this chef doesn't want to sleep with me. They were cooking food for me all night. I was out on a date and they were cooking food for me. Right. You were out on a date, not with them. You were out on a date with someone else and they cooked you food. This is not the same thing as if someone brought you to their home and made them dinner. Look, I'm in a profession similar to psychiatry in that I represent and deal with a lot of crazy people, but also in that I am, to the women who are in my office, something of a hero. I'm helping them with a very serious problem. They are coming to me in a very vulnerable way. And they are saying to me, here is the naked truth of who I am. Here are things I don't tell people. Here are some secrets about me. And my job, similar to a psychiatrist's job, is to hold those secrets and to hold them in a very sacred manner and to not share them with anyone. They are to help them understand and interpret them a little bit better, put them into context rather from just their subjective emotional context, but give them some objective sense of what it would look like to a third party without emotional skin in the game. and then to help them sort of figure out what to do. And there is something heroic about what I do for a living and what a psychiatrist does for a living. Like, let's be honest, it's part of the appeal of it. I love my job because I feel heroic. I feel like I get to come in, someone's like, help me, I'm in a really vulnerable position, and I get to come in and go, okay, I have a skill set. I can talk really well and I can think fast on my feet, and I'm going to help you. Like, that's what's exciting about my job. Psychiatrists, I'd like to believe, listen, you're an MD if you're a psychiatrist. You went to med school. You could be an endocrinologist. You could do, but what do you want? You want to get into the world of emotions and feelings and kind of play with that stuff. So you're trying to be helpful in this situation. So some of the things that she describes, again, she experienced them as a form of intimacy, as a form of connection that she gave romantic meaning to. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with a person feeling romantic feelings towards their therapist or towards their lawyer. Nothing. Just like there's nothing wrong with a person having a crush on their college professor or having a crush on any number. Your feelings are your feelings. It's okay to have those feelings. But when that person says to you, hey, I'm your lawyer, I'm your doctor, this is not the nature of our relationship, that's a really important thing for you to listen to and to take seriously. And it does sound like, by this woman's own accounts, that this psychiatrist made a real effort to be very clear with her about the nature of their relationship. What this comes down to is you have to be very clear in your boundaries with your client. And I had an experience once where I had to let a client go because she had expressed to me that she was essentially obsessed with me in a romantic way, that she couldn't stop thinking about me. And this whole, she talks about how she told her therapist, oh, I had this sexual dream about you. And that puts a therapist in a really strange position because part of the job of a therapist, I know this as someone who's been in therapy many years, is to help you process your dreams, help you focus on what your dreams might be telling you. I just had a conversation recently with my therapist, who, by the way, is female and is an attractive female. She's probably close to my age, if not older. I've never asked. She's probably married, although I've never asked. She probably has children, although I've never asked, because that's not the nature of our relationship. The nature of our relationship is I actually don't have to know anything about her personal life. She's one of the only people in my life I have to do no emotional heavy lifting. I don't have to worry about her emotional state. Her job is to worry about my emotional state and to let me unload on her all of the things that are weighing on me. And I don't have to worry about it weighing her down because I'm paying her for doing that. And so if you've got it in your head that the person who is prescribing medication to you or helping you navigate your ugly divorce or standing in front of the room lecturing about, medieval art history or whatever it is, the person who serves some specific role in your life must be that competent at everything else in life. You're kidding yourself. I wish it was true because I would just bow at the knees of that person and say, please teach me everything. It's not real. It's not real. There's almost an inverse ratio. Like if you're this good at art, you're probably not this good at other things. Or if you're this good at football, you're probably this good at other things. Like this, just the nature of things. God doesn't give everyone everything. It's not how it works. So I really think ultimately this is a very sad story. It's almost a shame that it got this much attention. Again, this could be some Andy Kaufman-esque performance, and this young woman has just realized this was going to cause the flaming TikTok war that it's caused, and it was going to go viral, and perhaps she's just a genius about that. Or it could really be that this is a person who's, disturbed in their perception of things, and they were sharing with the world, in which case I think we all need to give her a little grace and sort of say, hey, you know what? Maybe you misperceived the situation, but now you understand that this wasn't the nature of things. But to suggest that this was any form of abuse, to suggest that this woman is a victim of anyone but herself is absolutely misplaced, 100%.
Ex-MLB star, this is from before my time, David Justice.
Okay, I didn't represent him.
Recently went
He's not in New York.
Oh, there you go. Recently went on the All the Smoke podcast and talked about his relationship and eventual divorce with everyone's favorite Catwoman, Halle Berry.
We never had any major issues like that. Mm-hmm. It's just that because I was young and had only been in, honestly, one real relationship before her, my knowledge and my understanding, my wisdom around relationships just wasn't vast. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at my mom And I'm a Midwest guy, so in my mind, I'm thinking a wife at that time should cook, clean.
Traditional.
You know, and then I'm thinking, okay, if we have kids, you know, is this the woman I want to have kids with and build a family with? And at that time, as a young guy, she don't cook, don't clean, don't really seem like motherly. And then we start having issues.
Okay, so I get it. Yeah, I mean, look, again, I can tell what probably happened from there without even looking at it. I'm sure he got pilloried for, well, why do you think a woman has to cook and clean? And there's plenty of women that don't cook.
Well, especially because it's Halle Berry. That's the question.
Why would Halle Berry why would you assume Halle Berry cooks, cleans, and provides childcare? Halle Berry is a very talented actor. Halle Berry, at the time they were married, was an incredibly successful actress whose time was worth literally millions of dollars. So, you know, she had endless endorsement deals. And again, I'm not suggesting that people who have those levels of professional opportunities don't cook, don't clean, don't take care of their families. But her time was extremely valuable. And to assume that she does those things. Now, again, look, I think we got to break this down slightly differently. What he admits to there, and I think in a very brave and honest way that comes with maturity and reflection, is that he was young. He'd really not had a lot of relationships in his life, which is obviously in no way surprising because his entire youth and early adulthood was focused on one thing, and that was becoming a master of his craft as a professional athlete. I mean, this is a person whose entire life was devoted single-mindedly to becoming exceptional at baseball. So this is all this man did. And so, you know, he was focused on that. So what was his role model? He said his own parents, his own mother. That's not surprising. He's not telling on himself there. Most of us learn what's a marriage supposed to look like, or what's a mother and father supposed to interact with each other by watching our mother and father, or watching the mother and fathers around us. And he saw a traditional gender role. He saw a father who works and a mother who cooks and who cleans and takes care of children. Don't get mad at him for that. That is what many, many people did for many, many years. That's what lots of women did. That's what my mother did. Is it superior? Is it a woman's role? Is it her place? No one's saying that in this conversation. He's certainly not saying that. What he's saying is, I thought that's what women automatically do. Why? Because that's what the women in my life did. That's what women who were mothers and wives, that's what they did. They cleaned and cooked and took care of families. Like, that's why. Like, children only interpret the world through the things that they learn and they see around them. That's why, unfortunately, harming children is such a terrible thing. Because if a child grows up in a home where they see their father hitting their mother, they assume, oh yeah, that's what happens. I tell my clients who are victims of intimate partner abuse and domestic violence, listen, even if you're not going to protect yourself, your son is learning that harming a woman is what a man is supposed to do by watching what's happening in your home. Your daughter is learning that that's what a man does with a woman. And very often, that's the way you get in with a victim of intimate partner abuse or domestic violence. That's the way you get them to stand up for themselves and to accept help, is you show them, hey, listen, maybe you're not going to protect yourself, but protect your kids. Like if your husband walked in and punched your kid in the face, you would call the police. Well, your husband punching you in the presence of your children, he might as well have punched your child in the face, the long-term damage he's going to create for that child. So in this situation, it's really the same phenomenon happening. David Justice is saying, hey, I grew up in a house where a woman cooks and cleans and takes care of children. I assumed mistakenly that that's what I was getting when I signed on with this lovely, beautiful person, Halle Berry. And she didn't. She didn't do that. I mean, that being said, like Halle Berry, like David Justice had like prime Halle Berry. Like, and I'm not saying Halle Berry's still not a beautiful woman, but like, I think we can all agree there's like right now we're in the prime Sydney Sweeney moment. We're in the prime, like there's a prime moment, you know what I mean? Like, believe me, prime Jim Sexton is long gone. Like, there's pictures I could show you somewhere. I'll try to find one. Like, by the way, prime Jim Sexton was not that great. Like, prime Jim Sexton was like at best a 6, like at best. But prime Jim Sexton and this Jim Sexton, you can't compare those two. Same thing, Halle Berry. He got prime Halle Berry. Halle Berry would probably say he got prime Halle Berry, you know? Again, Halle Berry, amazing. Still so out of my league, it's not even funny. But at the end of the day, like, he got prime Halle Berry. Like, I don't feel too bad for the guy. You also wanted her to cook you wanted her to cook, clean, and take care of children? Prime Halle Berry, you wanted her to cook, come on, really? What did you think? You're good at baseball, that's fine. I'm not making fun of you for this. But like, did you also still believe in Santa Claus? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. You are not the father, but are you the asshole? Am I the asshole for only taking care of my kid? I was with my ex-wife, Amy, for 4 years. We have an 18-month-old daughter, Wynn. We got divorced last year. Amy has a 6-year-old daughter, Ella, whose dad isn't involved. During our marriage, I took on the brunt of the money stuff because she was a stay-at-home mom our whole relationship. The whole time I treated Ella no different than I treated Wynn. I don't know if it's Win or Winnie, by the way. I got her everything she needed and I cared for her as a parent should. Once we split up, we split 50-50 custody of Win. I pay insurance as well as pay her monthly payments by choice. As I make more money than her, I want our daughter to have a comfortable life. My issue is my ex-wife is feeling some type of way because I no longer want to fund Ella's life. When I pick up Win, it's not a secret. We go off and do fun stuff like the zoo or whatever else we can get into. Win also often gets new clothes and shoes. Amy feels it's not fair that I won't maintain Ella's life anymore after 4 years of doing it, that I've abandoned my, quote, daughter, unquote. I feel she's no longer my responsibility. I know Amy cannot afford to give Ella the life we used to give her, but why should I have to do it? I talked to my mom about it and she thinks I'm a massive asshole as she sees Ella as her granddaughter just as much as she sees Winnie. Win, am I the asshole? If so, I'll eat it and continue to help with Ella. I'm going to go ahead and agree with your mom on this. You are abso-fucking-lutely the asshole. Like this is a 100% you're the asshole. But I think just the fact you're asking the question means you're not beyond redemption. So there's hope for you, my friend. But let's just break this down a little further. You were with her for 4 years and you have an 18-month-old. Amy has a 6-year-old daughter, Ella. So Ella was 2 years old when you married her mom, okay? And her father's not in the picture. And you embraced her like she was your child. For what you said, I treated Ella no differently than I treat Win, okay? So you treated Ella no differently. And then you and Amy, so that's Ella's mom, divorced. And you're now saying, I no longer have any responsibilities to her. Legally, you are correct, sir. Legally, you are not the father. Hate to sound like Maury on that one, but you are not the father of that child. But my God, man, you owe that child had nothing to do with the breakup between you and her mother. You owe that child to care about her. You are, what kind of man would allow a child to let him enter her heart like that and to be a father figure for this child and then sever that connection because your romantic relationship with an adult woman ended? That's insane. Are you a sociopath? How could you even ask the question? Now, I get if what you're going to say is, well, I want the child to be freed up so that when my ex-wife gets in a new relationship, that guy can step in and take the role of being father. Think about how insane that logic is, because how would Ella ever let another person into that role if she knows it can just be taken from her? And by the way, there's a million second order effects in here as well. Do you think your daughter Win is going to feel good about the fact that her little sister, who she loves so much, is going to be sad every time you take her out or buy her new clothes and then don't do anything for her? What kind of message are you sending to your biological child? Listen, your biology is not the thing that makes this your child. Yes, of course, there's something lovely about having a child that's biologically your child, that's connected to you in that manner. But I have to tell you, as a father of 2 now adult men, when they were little, I never found myself going, they are my progeny. This is why they are the gird of my loins. And that's why like the fact that they were my biological children, it really wasn't the thing. My DNA wasn't the thing that I was like, felt a real, some type of way about. Like I wasn't, it was the fact that they were mine. Like they were my responsibility. Yes, of course, I'm their father biologically. That was kind of cool. It's neat to see that they look a little like me, and thank God they look more like their mom. But the truth is, like, there's something so beautiful about they're mine to take care of. Like they're mine to shepherd through things. Like they're mine. They're my responsibility. And I accepted that responsibility as a man. And you, sir, accepted that responsibility. And I have to tell you something, man. I have tremendous respect for, because I represent a lot of women who get divorced and have children, and the father of their children has nothing to do with the children anymore. And I have seen men step into that situation and go, you're a woman I've now fallen in love with. So who you love is my responsibility too. So these children, I will treat them, if you want me to, I will treat them as if they were my children. I will, because loving you means loving these children. And I have to tell you, I have such admiration for those men. I have such admiration, because women, I happen to know a lot of women, and they're all very nurturing, or at least the majority of them are very nurturing, and they're very quick to be very nurturing. But men sometimes can be tribal, in my experience. Again, these are generalizations, but men sometimes are like, it's not my kids, it's not my kids. And you hear this kind of talk all the time in the red pill space, like not everyone, but there are plenty of people that are like, well, no man wants anything to do with somebody else's kid. And I have to tell you, I have tremendous respect for men that are like, listen, any child is my child and my responsibility in some ways. Like, you're telling me if you're walking around a park and a little girl walked up to you and she didn't have parents around and she was just like, hey, I'm hungry, or hey, I don't know how to get home. That's your kid at that moment, man. Like, I hope that's your kid, because I would act like that's my kid. I see somebody broken down by the side of the road. I want to help that person. My time's worth a lot of money. I'm going to stop. Are you okay? You need anything? You need me to call somebody? Like, I can't change a tire for shit, but I'm going to check. Are you okay? You know why? Because if it was my mom, if it was my child that was by the side of the road, I'd want somebody to stop, and I'd want it to be somebody like me who's going to try to help solve the problem and has no negative intentions towards that person. So look, man, you were getting there. You were so close. Like, you had it, man. You had the ball. It was about to be right in your glove. Like, you took a 2-year-old and you spent 4 years being a father figure to her and showing her the unique and wonderful love that a man stepping up as a father can give to her. And you do not have to be her biological father to be a father to her. You do not have to be. There are so many people that are step parents, that are adopted parents, that can tell you that the depth of love and the depth of love between the love you can feel for and the love you can receive from a child who is not biologically related to you is exactly the same as the love of a child who you're biologically related to. Like, children want to be loved and they want to give love. So the fact that you walked into this situation and accepted this 2-year-old into your heart and allowed you to become part of her heart, to walk away from that because a romantic relationship with a woman ended, is an insanely selfish thing to do. So if you choose to do it, you are the asshole for sure. But here's what I'll tell you. The fact that at the conclusion of this, you say, listen, I don't know. I'm not sure. Am I getting it wrong? That tells me that there's, that voice that's telling you to ask the question? Yeah, that's a part of you, that voice. That's you talking to yourself. And what you're doing is, you know the answer already. That's why you asked the question. Because I have to tell you something. If you were certain that this is not a child you want anything to do with, you wouldn't even be asking the question. You just move confidently in that direction. That little voice in you that goes, this doesn't feel right, that's the right voice. That's the voice to listen to. Some people would say that's God's voice. Like, you need to listen to that voice in you. And it sounds like you're ready to do that, because your last sentence there is, look, if it's on me, then it's on me, and I'll step up. Step up. Step up. If you do, you're not the asshole. If you don't, you are absolutely 100% the asshole. Hey, thanks for joining us for another Better Call Sexton. Be sure to like and subscribe and join us next time. We'll see you again real soon.